Well, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? It's the middle of the week. Happy Wednesday. See who we got. Hey, Sugar Beet. Hey, Mrs. O. Shamina. Tony. Allie79. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Well, who's ready? I'm ready. I can't wait. But before we talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I want to let you guys know that I watched news on the Barry Morphy situation. Okay, so what I found out is that it was the prosecution who filed to dismiss the charges. And the reason that they filed to dismiss the charges was because they believe that they have located um, her body, Suzanne's body. And so, but unfortunately, it has snowed and they're thinking that it's under about 5 feet of snow. Okay. So that's that. However, they did enter, they did, I guess I don't want to say they interviewed. How do I say this? Okay. Her family, um, spoke and they're pleased with this decision. Obviously, Barry's lawyer spoke for him, and as well as their daughters, who still believe that their father is innocent, and they're all pleased with the outcome. Now, the state can file charges again, and I do believe it is really, like we talked about yesterday, um, that they want more proof. Oh, and the other thing is that during some of the preliminary hearings, it was decided that, good morning, Michelle N. Good morning, good morning. It was decided that some of their expert witnesses, the state's expert witnesses, would not be allowed to testify. And so that presents a huge problem for the prosecution. And again, when you have a nobody case, right, those are difficult to prosecute anyway. But in this situation, you have a nobody and a no crime scene case. So typically, when a nobody crime or case is prosecuted, the reason that what can make it successful, what helps to make it a successful prosecution, is discovering the crime scene. And typically, what they find there is a substantial amount of blood, so much blood, right? And it doesn't even have to be like the blood is pooled there. There's other ways, obviously, to see where blood may have been, right? And it can be, dried and whatnot. But usually, what they show is that there was such a substantial amount of blood loss that no victim, no average human being could have survived that level of blood loss. That's usually what they show. So I think that in this situation, the prosecution erred on the side of caution. They had too many things going against them. And I do agree that had they proceeded, because the trial was scheduled for May, which is right around the corner, and had they proceeded, um, it likely would have resulted in an acquittal, and they just didn't want to take that chance. So I think that's better. And I will say this: I I want to thank you, Mrs. O, before I forget, because I wanted to address that, which is why I highlighted it. And my coffee and 5 hour, you all be pleased to know, is just now starting to kick in. I got a little bit of a later start than I had intended. And I will agree, Shamita, there are still some question marks. And having her body will be much more helpful in this situation. And of course, like I say, all the days, all the time, I do believe in our court system, and I do believe in charging the right person for the crime. And then after that, I believe that it's important for the person who is being charged with the crime to have a fair trial. And in the long run, I feel like this would save a lot of heartache, money, because let's say they had proceeded without her body. And let's say they even got a conviction. Well, Florida, Colorado doesn't have the death penalty, right? So it would be life without the possibility of parole would be the maximum that he would receive. And he would still be eligible. You can always appeal. And so but when you have a case like this, right, in his case, um, it's very possible that he could have gotten a new trial in an appeal attempt. So this is just, I think, the best course. Prudence is best in this situation, I believe. So I agree with the prosecution, and I think is good moving forward. Also, in other news, yesterday, was it yesterday? Don't get me lying. Yesterday I watched, but I can't remember if the whole situation, if it happened yesterday. So let me just check my pictures. Um, let me make sure what I watched. Okay. Yes. So yesterday there was a hearing in the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow case. There were two. Okay. Obviously, the one we talked about, which was Lori Vallow, through her attorney pleading not guilty. Okay. But the other trial that took place was a hearing, not a trial. Sorry. The other hearing that took place yesterday was about the jury. And Chad Daybell's attorneys, the way I understand it, they are not, I don't think it's like an actual change of venue in the traditional sense, meaning that they want the trial moved somewhere else and then they pick the jury from there. What they're suggesting is that the trial stay where it's at, okay, and then they have the jurors picked from someplace else and bust in to where the trial will be located, right? The county where the trial will be located. And they also want the jurors to be sequestered. So basically, there was testimony about the cost and all of that. And hi, True Psych Ward. Good to see you. Hey, Christine Elizabeth. Okay, so that's what happened. And to be honest with you guys, I watched that late, and I don't know the outcome right now, but I wanted to talk about it just a little bit because I'll find out what the end results were for you guys, like during our lunch break. But at the end of the day, basically the state is saying, look, we're going to sequester the jurors. All right. We're willing to do that. They're not going to be free to roam around and be interacting and commingling with people during the trial. Okay. So they think that's enough. Also, I looked and there has been a decision, and the judge did rule that their trial they will be tried together. They will not be tried separately. Chad Daybell's motion for separation of trials was denied. So that's that. Um, what else did I have to tell you guys? I can't really think of anything else that I wanted to talk about with respect to other cases. I will say though that I am working on a little something for you guys. Um, I I enjoy doing the streams during the day, obviously, because we don't get to do this very much. And plus, I like to be able to have my subs. I don't like calling people. I don't like saying that. My subs. I like you guys, my viewers, my familiars, my pals to from overseas that are on different time zones, obviously, that are already in the future, like mostly 6 hours into the future, to be able to be here and chat and not be up at, 1 a.m., 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? But then also, so I like doing the morning streams. And speaking of morning streams, if y'all could do your girl a favor and go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you're in the mood for a thumbs down. I don't judge. I'd appreciate it. But I'm also missing now, by just doing it this way, I'm missing all of my pals and my friends at night. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing this, obviously, because I like this, doing it in the morning. But I'm also going to have like a recap at night, because I think that's the fairest way to do it. And then the other thing that I'm working on is some videos for like the highlights of the trial. And you know how I do it. They're not going to be serious videos. They're just going to be, my little put togethers, because there's been so much. Like yesterday, I mean, oh, thank you, Michelle N. I appreciate that. Like the thing is, I am not like yesterday, nobody was prepared for the cross-examination of Johnny Depp's security guard guy. Or not security guard guy, that happened, that this was after that. The sound engineer. I don't have merch. I don't know how to do that. I have like a ton of ideas that would be good for merch, but I don't have merch. I don't know how to do it. Well, I'll have to figure it, or we can talk. Ali 79, because I don't know. What I don't I just never think about stuff like that. I don't know what's wrong with me. Actually, I do know what's wrong with me a lot, but we don't have time for that because Johnny Depp's going to be live in like 10 minutes. I feel like my list of things that are wrong with me is not like incredibly long, but the hey Lupe, the explanation always takes me, 11 billion hours. I'm a talker like Johnny Depp. Another thing we have in common, I've also been keeping a checklist of things that Johnny Depp and I have in common, including his list of what he looks for in a woman. And so far, it is literate, loves Van Morrison, and funny. So I have a check on literate. I can read. I love Van Morrison. And I put 2 checks by funny because, hello, I'm pretty freaking funny. I make myself laugh anyway. So, anyway, yeah, nobody was prepared for the P word yesterday, least of all me. And hey, Chick Tracy. And the thing is, thank you, Mrs. O. And the thing about that situation yesterday is that I don't, I was so like, whoa, when she read that all the pieces didn't come together. And y'all, I don't know if you guys, if it all clicked for you, but also to be fair, my brain is still recovering from Anthony Tote's testimony. Like I mean, I heard the testimony and I ain't been right since, and that's just the way it is. It's coming together though. I'm getting better slowly. I'm recovering, but anyway, at um, all of that loud arguing, all of the things took place on an airplane. Like this wasn't you know how you go to parties, right? And there's always a maybe it's just my well, anyway, there's always like a kerfuffle, and sometimes you're there to witness the kerfuffle from start to finish, and then sometimes you're there in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's not what this was. This was on an airplane. Like there's only a finite amount of space, and that to be able to uh, escape, and also not just escape, but hear um, you know, all the things. So I just, anyway, bottom line is I thought it was it just, it all clicked to me. Like, can you, let's say that happened. Yes. I need to, you know what I need to do? I have an idea and I don't want to say it because, well, no, I do. I think I need to make a better or a newer updated intro for the playlist for the roasts. And what I was thinking about doing is I want to take a picture of myself. Hey, Smalls, in my chair that I got, you know, and lean it all the way back and then add it to a still shot from the Stephen McDaniel uh, interrogation video. I can just put my chair next to the detective that's interviewing him, where he's all leaned back like that. And yeah, I don't know. I'll figure out something, but I want to put together like a highlight reel of the trial each week, because let's be honest, there are things that happen that are funny and that are not just funny, but they're noteworthy, memorable, like my friend Isaac. Because I'm totally on a first name basis with Isaac and Johnny. Frankly, at this point, I've already met the criteria for what he wants in a woman. And so also we do kind of like the same music, but I thought about using a song from his band on the intro video, but I felt like that would be a little too on the nose and also copyright. So anywho, yeah, I'm gonna do that at each week. So I will be streaming live today, and then tonight I will go live um, to do a summary and a discussion, so I can have all my familiars. And then I believe, and I know True Psych Word's in here. Dr. Beacon is listening, and I know she'll correct me if I speak incorrectly. But I do believe that the plan of having the part two roast of Chris Watts is a go for Saturday. So please adjust your schedules accordingly, because I definitely um, feel like, you know, Everybody wants to see that. I want to see it. I never like rewatch, but I mean, I do when they're premiered, obviously, but like the old ones that I premiere over here, but I do, I like to have the funny commentary. I don't have to be so serious and like mature and all that. I could just be me, um, during the roast. Those are fun for me. Oh, I like that. That's really cute. That's a good idea, Tony. Thank you. That's an awesome idea. Oh, see? There y'all go. Oh, and that's another thing. I I yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple days ago when I was messing around and making that Johnny Depp intro video, I was going through music, and I totally found the best. Hold on a second. Shamita sent me something and I want to do it on this one. Hold on. All right. They're back in court. Johnny is on the stand. Oh, cripes. Hold on. I need to share my screen and I clicked big first. So give me just a second. They're early today. Okay, I just want to check one thing like really quick because I unmuted it and chose to add audio. Okay, there's no audio yet. There's no sound. All right, cool. Thank you, Shamina. All right. Oh, I like his suit today. Also, can I just point out, like, Johnny, I don't want you to be upset when I say this, and I say this with all the love I have in my cold, dead heart. I'm not a fan of that specific ponytail. I do like to see your whole face. I do, but I do like the tousled, messy hair. I'm sorry, I just do better. You're still a handsome man. Don't worry. Don't take this as a slight because it's not. I'm completely. Oh, so Mrs. O, Racy's is this coffee shop that was central to the um, Ezra McCandless case that we just covered. So, hey, Nonstop Mom. So, yeah. Um, oh, I totally do a say anything moment. I absolutely would. Completely. I would even, I don't know. It's cooler in Virginia. So yeah, I would totally even like do my own version of John Cusack's outfit, the trench coat, the whole nine, um, right out there in front. Yeah, no shame in my game. Show would.
All right, good morning. All right, are there any preliminary matters?
No, Your Honor.
2 days in a row. I like that. That's a good idea. Great. All right, Mr. Depp, you can take your place on the stand, please.
The preliminary matters is Johnny Depp, call me. Oh, he's got him a fancy mug today. What's going on,
All
Johnny?
right, you're
What
ready
you
for the
got in your
time?
mug?
Okay.
All right, we don't know yet. All right, here we go, y'all. No, we're just getting to it. I would, if I were you ladies, have a fan on the standby in case he gets all romantical again, because I was a lot yesterday, too. Oh, Johnny, what is going on with that? Did they tease your ponytail in the back? Y'all, come on now. Hey, Douglas Spath, welcome. Hey, Smalls. Hmm. Oh, hey. Nonstop, Mom. Hello, Anita. I see all my familiars coming
Good
in.
morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right, you can have a seat. And so just a reminder that you're still under oath, Mr. Depp, okay?
Yeah, you're still under oath. I don't see, I'm trying to see in the audience if I can see MGL.
Good morning, Mr. Depp.
Good morning.
But I didn't. Hold on,
Yesterday,
let
you
me
told
look
us a little
better.
bit about the beginning of your relationship with Miss Heard. When did Miss Heard's behavior towards you begin to change?
I believe, as I said yesterday, there was a hint of something with the having to do with the boots coming off and breaking routine. Um, her attitude, or the way that she would um, begin to speak to me. Um, think things first things started coming up, and I was suddenly just wrong about everything. Um, if I made a statement about something that I had been familiar with, for example, in my work that I'd
He's up as loud as he
been
goes, Schmied. I'm sorry,
chopping
babe.
away at for a good 30 something years, um, I was suddenly wrong. And then beyond that, if you tried to um, explain yourself and correct um, the problem, the misunderstanding, it would then begin to heighten as Ms. Heard was uh, unable to be wrong. It just didn't happen. She couldn't be wrong. Um, so these little digs um, and it would commence with sort of demeaning, name calling, uh, berated, sort of to be made a fool of, um, and those would escalate into a full-scale argument. And in the beginning, as one does, one sticks up for oneself in a debate, as it were, or an argument over something to try to prove the point. But when it escalates, and then it's hard to explain, but the argument would start here, and then it would roll around and become this circular thing of its own. So you get back to the beginning, essentially, of the argument. Now it's heightened even more, but it's still circular, and there's no way in or out. You, if there's a dialogue between two people, um, both people need to speak, but there was no there was no way to fit a word in. It was a sort of a rapid fire, um, sort of endless parade of um, insults and uh, you know, looking at me like I was uh, a fool, and I just couldn't. I was having difficulty in my mind, of course, and in my heart, dealing uh, with that sort of barrage. And part of that is I was confused as to the fact that whatever her age was at the time of these various arguments, she was mid 20s to late 20s and into 30s. Um, I couldn't understand how I had somehow somehow gotten arrived at where I'd arrived from where I came from in the beginning of my life and worked for 30 plus years um, doing these things. I, it was astounding how wrong I was about everything that I've experienced um, within the movie and within the film industry or within, well, in just life itself. Uh, no, I was sort of not allowed to be right, not allowed to have a voice. So at a certain point, when that, when what enters your mind is you start to slowly realize that you are in a relationship with your mother, in a sense. And I know that that sounds perverse and obtuse, but the the fact is that some people search for weaknesses in people. Um, that is to say, sensitivities. And when you've told that person your life and what you've lived through, and what you've been through, just as happens in relationships, the more that became ammunition for Miss Heard to either verbally uh, decimate me or to send me into a kind of tailspin of confusion and depression and um, well, it's not a happy day. It's not a happy week. It's not a happy month when you're constantly being told how wrong you are about this or that, what an idiot you are, um, or anything. It just then it increased, and it became an endless. It became an endless that endless circle. Like so, as it escalated and continued to escalate, I went straight to what I had learned as a youth, which was to remove myself from the situation so that it couldn't continue because there's only so much your ears can hear and never forget. So I would remove myself from the situation as I'd done as a youth, as much as possible, um, because I, I just I certainly didn't believe that there was any need for these various subjects or arguments to come up and and travel the distance that they did so very quickly, to ramp up so fast. Um, it was like you were pinned to a wall and had to just listen to it and take it. So I found the only way to find any sort of peace was to try to walk away. If she didn't allow me to walk away, there were times when I would I would just go and lock myself in, uh, the bathroom or anywhere that she couldn't get into, and that happened uh, constantly over the years.
What would happen when the fights would escalate, other than going and hiding in the bathroom?
I'm sorry, what would happen? Well, if they continue to escalate, um, if I continued to try to um, present my version or my side of the story, when you're approached in a kind of well, when you're approached with such anger and hatred, it seemed like pure hatred for me. Um, if I stayed to argue that, eventually I was sure that it was going to escalate into violence, and oftentimes it did. Many times it did.
And when you say violence, what are you referring to specifically?
Um, Miss Heard, in her frustration and in her rage and her anger, she would strike out. It could begin with a slap. It could begin with a shove. It could begin with, throwing a TV remote at my head. It could be uh, throwing a glass of wine in my face. But all in all, it was just it was a constant. Uh, there was a built-in list of as I said, my personal experiences, which I gave to Miss Heard. Those things were those facts were used against me, um, as weapons, um, especially when it when it came to my kids. Um, so yeah, I did. There was no need for it. It just there was no need for it. Too many lines were crossed. You couldn't see the lines anymore.
You mentioned that Ms. Heard would use information you gave her against you like a weapon. Can you explain that a little bit?
Um, I mean, I've said this before in various interviews, but certainly in life. Um, my If I have one ambition, and ambition for me, um, when you equate it with Hollywood, has become a very has become an ugly word in a sense, because ambition means I want to be famous at any cost. I don't care what for. I just want to be famous. That's one thing. That's one uh, part of it. If you have hunger or a need or a drive to present your work, um, that to me is the way to go about it. Fame has nothing to do with it. So I was more, I mean, basically, the only ambition that I've ever had in my life came arrived the second that my first child arrived. And in the second, in the instant, which was to be a good parent, to be a great father, to be the best father I could. And there were several occasions where Miss Heard would tell me what a bad father I was, um, and that I had no idea how to parent. Um, and again, it falls into the same category as before. I couldn't understand how in 52 years or however old I was at the time, how I could be so wrong about everything. I mean, one learns along the road. The result is the result of the road is not important. It's the road that's important because we don't know exactly what's going to happen in 10 years. We don't know. So the road is what I pay attention to, and paying attention to trying to spend as much time with my children as possible. Um, even that, even that would that could send Miss Heard into a monumental tailspin, um, where I could hardly ever go and see my kids and spend time with my kids because she had to have me there at all times for her own needs. And
So,
that was something that once you realize that that's happening, and then there are hassles between the children and her, the situation starts to get a little more grim and a little more dire. And that I was not prepared to take. I would not hear the words, "You're a bad father, you're a terrible father, you're an awful father." So one can only take so much of that before bits of your brain start to just, bits of your brain, bits of your heart begin to, the valve gets shut off because you can't hear it anymore. And you know that it's not true, and you know that it's meant as a weapon. It's to slice you up, it's to bring you down, it's to demean you, it's to bring you into a place where you start to believe that there's something wrong with you. And there's plenty wrong with me. There's plenty wrong with a lot of people. But in all of these situations, my main goal was to retreat, because I think in life, most important is pick your battles. If there's a battle to be fought that is grave and important, then that must be dealt with. But small insults and kind of teenage sort of high school tactics, um, this bullying, if you will, was becoming too much to take.
so why did you stay with Miss Heard given this type of behavior?
That's a very complicated answer. I would, I can only say that I stayed through all that. I'm sure that it's somehow related to my father um, remaining stoic as my mother would beat him to death. Um, I'm sure it had a lot to do with having been in a beautiful, wonderful 14, 15-year relationship with Vanessa, the mother of my children. Raising those kids was, there was, I had no interest in being you know, the words that they use that I dislike very much, a celebrity or an entertainer or fame is a strange word because I could never equate it with myself. I pumped gas, I worked construction, I printed T-shirts, I dug in, you know, I had many, many jobs before any of this happened to me. So I've been able to live both sides of that life, of of life. I know the very lows, and I know the very highs of where my life has gone. And it's not, I don't, again, it would be pure idiocy for me to sit up here as as an actor who's been very, very fortunate over the years, and I can only say it's luck in the sense that someone hands you the ball in the beginning, and you run with it, and you run as far as you can before you get tackled. Um, so that's what I've always done. But what happens is when the word celebrity or uh, when you are a, what do they call it, public public figure. That's what it is, a celebrity or a public figure. Um, Again, not complaining, but there are things that are very uncomfortable, and that is to say that at that point anybody can say anything they want to about you, and that's happened to me over 36 years or more. That things can be printed in the newspaper that are utterly false. And this is even early on. So this is where that that privilege, I suppose, that they call the privilege of celebrity.
Just
That's
FYI, I
that's
think
where
another
that
thing Johnny Depp and I have in common is he forgot
sticks
the
a knife in
question,
you,
and so did I.
um, because it's one of those. That's one of those situations where your arms are too short to box with God. You know, there are too many of them coming at you. So yes, uh, I don't know what her motivations were, if they were, if there was some species of jealousy, or there was some species of maybe just maybe just hatred. I don't know. Um, but in any case, the elevation and the escalation of these day-to-day arguments were simply unnecessary. It was it was not to help the relationship. It did not help the relationship. It wasn't meant to help the relationship. It was meant to feed her um, need for conflict. She has a need for conflict. She has a need for violence. It erupts out of nowhere, and what I learned, the only thing I learned to do with it is exactly what I did as a child: retreat, just take a step back, which I told her we need to remove ourselves from each other, even for an hour, a day, anything, because this can't go on. No one can live like this, you know. But why did I stay? I stayed, I suppose, because my father stayed. I suppose because I had been in that relationship with Vanessa, and that was lost. and I didn't, I didn't want to, I didn't want to fail. I wanted to try to make it work. I thought maybe I could help her. I thought maybe I could bring her around, because the Amber Heard that I knew for the first year, year and a half, was not this suddenly this um, opponent.
I wonder if him and
It, it,
Vanessa will get back
it
together.
wasn't my girl. It was she had become my opponent, and everything that I did just didn't fit her. It wasn't. She didn't accept it. So I stayed because, of course, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to. I didn't want to hurt anyone, especially Miss Heard. I didn't want to break her heart. I remember very well that when my father left and my mother, Betty Sue, had that first attempt at suicide that I woke up to, and that visual in my head, and that was a direct result of my father's leaving
Yes, Allie, I think that's
Ms.
exactly
Heard
what
had spoken of
is part of it.
suicide on a couple of occasions, so that also becomes a factor. That's also something that always lives in the back of your brain, and that you fear, because when I would leave, sometimes, I mean, well, many times when I would try to leave, she would, stop me at the elevator with the security guards, crying, screaming, you know, I can't live without you. I'm gonna die. But you had to get out. There were even a couple of times when I did escape and I got to my house, arrived at my house in Sweetser, and then 5 minutes later she would arrive in the I don't know what car she was driving at the time, but she would arrive in her nightgown, screaming in the parking lot in front of my house, screaming to high heavens. It'd be 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. It was ludicrous. It was out of control. It was uncontrollable.
Did there come a time when you and Miss Heard started recording your arguments?
Uh, yes, the in fact, I was the first person of the two of us to record conversations, and it was for this reason. She would we would have been talking the night before or arguing the night before, and she would say something. There would be these demeaning, berating insults. There would be these jabs. There would be anything to make me feel small and like nothing. So what I thought was, I'm going to record the conversation, and I told her this. I'm going to record. I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to record our conversation, because I want you to hear what you've said to me tomorrow. So that because she would deny having said those things. What are you talking about? It was surreal. She had completely denied things she'd said directly to my face in a heated and volatile way. And she denied it. So I went to her and I said, I'm going to record us. And I did. And we recorded the conversation, which when she was on tape, it, the first time, it wouldn't, it escalated a bit, but she was, well, it was clear that she was performing for the tape because it was being recorded. So the, that was another clue that something was slightly rotten in the state of Denmark, as it were.
What did Ms. Heard say to you about you recording the conversations between you and her?
I mean, initially she said, sure, go ahead.
Did that ever change?
No, then she then she started recording, but surreptitious, um, without without telling me that she was recording something, which is fine, but not so fine, if you know what I mean. Um, Even in those tapes, I don't. There's. It never took me to a place where I would go s- s- switch into some other entity, which is, as she has used the term, monster. Never switched to violence. Violence is unnecessary. Um, why would you hit someone to make them agree with you? I don't think it works.
Mr. Depp, you mentioned the term monster, and I think we heard about that in the opening statements. What does the term monster mean to you?
Well, the term monster means to me, you know, in the beginning, she had used a different word to explain the same thing, and she would use the word demon, demons, that my demons were coming out, that she had noticed that there was a great change in my attitude or my um, uh, aggressive nature, or she would say that the demons had come out and they had control of me and that sort of thing. Um, I don't remember exactly how monster came out, but that word stuck and it stayed, well, until this day. Um, what I believe the monster was in Ms. Heard's mind was her intense, in,
Objection, Your Honor.
intense.
His belief about what monster meant in Miss Heard's mind is not
All right.
relevant. There's no foundation.
Let me ask a
All right,
different
all right,
question.
I'll sustain the objection. Go ahead.
When you use the term monster, what were you referring to in your conversations with Ms. Heard?
When I used the term monster with Ms. Heard, I was placating. If she had referred to me as being a monster, there was no way that I was going to sit there and go through a 45-minute argument about, you know, no, you're a monster. No, I'm not. You're a monster. No, I'm not. It was an impossibility. So what do? You accept her vernacular. You accept what the word that she uses, and then you use that word to placate her so that it would at least calm part of the aggression. It would lessen the attacks. you know. So explaining the monster was for me, um, I mean, she had told me many times that the monster was was only me when I was using drugs and alcohol. Um, but it, even when I was stone cold sober off of alcohol um, and substances aside from my meds, the term the monster was still there. When she uh, accused me of being high on cocaine or um, uh, drinking like a some sort of um, like drinking like I was a some kind of 19th century sailor. It's that was the word she clung to describe, but it was in her mind, not mine.
How did your relationship with Miss Heard affect your substance use?
Well, for example, when we were on the road, when you're traveling from, if you're on a press tour, or if you're making a film and you're staying in hotels or this or that, um, I would always have to get a different, or we would always have to book an extra room that I was able to escape to, so I didn't have to lock myself in another bathroom. Um, w- w- it breaks you down. The constant haranguing breaks you down, and there's a part of you that says, "Listen, if I'm going to be accused of this, might as well just do it." But
I don't think today,
it never
Amelia, no,
exceeded.
uh-uh.
It never. My substance abuse or use, the alcohol that I used or drank was again purely. It's that little boy who didn't want to hear or didn't want to feel the pain
And hey, well,
of his
Pam, I didn't say hi to you earlier. Hey, good
mother
to see
turning him
you.
into some kind of um, ball of insecurity and pain. So yes, uh, I was more inspired by Miss Heard to reach out for a numbing agent um, because of the
Now, see, that's a
because of
nice
the
way of putting
constant
it. I was inspired to reach out for a numbing agent. See, that was nice.
clashes, because of the there wasn't there was, I mean, maybe a few days here and there, but there wasn't a day that you'd wake up and
Perhaps nice
you'd
isn't the
expect
right word.
something was going to
Kinder
hit the
way to put
fan,
it.
and it, pretty much like clockwork, it did. So yes, I had to have something to distance me
I hope they both heal from this,
and
honestly, Welsh
distance
Pam. I really do. I
my
feel like I'm not saying your name right. Oh, I
heart
am. Okay.
from those verbal attacks. I had to have something to be able to maintain me, and I'm afraid for a while, because of placation, um, because I didn't want to rock the boat, as it were. again, you pick your battles. So placation seemed the best route if I was unable to escape her clutches.
Damn.
How, if at all, did Ms. Heard try to support you in abstaining from the drugs and alcohol as she requested?
Well, I mean, verbally, and she had been quite clear verbally and pretty bullish and brutish about wanting me to, telling me that I needed to stop drinking. But drinking was basically drinking wine with her, and I suppose maybe from youth, I don't know, but I've always had a pretty high tolerance for alcohol, and especially it's not spirits, you know. I had a pretty good tolerance for alcohol, substances,
We get it,
and things
Johnny.
of that nature.
Some
But
people are just better drinkers than others.
there was no,
It's
I had
me.
no.
I'm people.
I've worked with therapists, drug counselors who have actually said the words to me because I wanted to know. I wanted to know, am I an alcoholic? Am I an alcoholic? Or is this just the same thing that I did as a kid when I took my mom's nerve pill? Do I have a drinking problem? And it essentially came down to this. Do you have a drinking problem, Johnny?
Objection calls for hearsay. What the doctors told him.
I'm not sure he's saying what the doctors told him.
I think he's telling you what he decided.
Oh,
So,
if you can make that clear, I guess.
Let me ask you a different question, Mr. Depp.
Yes. Let's let him object to another one.
How often would Ms. Heard drink in your presence?
my bad.
their
That's not,
relationship.
it's funny. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I don't care. It's
well,
funny.
Yeah.
You got to have a sense of humor about these things,
Ms.
Johnny.
Heard-
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Drank, she took a shine to a very nice Spanish wine called Vega Sicilia. She and all her friends did.
Yeah, that's not like a boxed wine. It's not a
Yeah, the
Franzia
wine would come out
situation. It's
and,
expensive.
Ms. Heard could very easily drink 2 bottles of wine per night. Well, not a problem. What I found strange was when I did get sober from the I was off the opiates that I had been addicted to prior to a year or so before, a couple of years before. She asked me if I would stop drinking to save the relationship, of course. I stopped drinking. And I always found it odd that in support of me not drinking,
She drank a ton, or wait, no,
that she might stop drinking.
but she didn't.
But she did not.
Of course she didn't.
Continued. And I didn't make a big deal about it. In fact, I would open her wine, I would pour her a glass, and that went on for many, many months, you know, in my sobriety.
Wow.
Like I said, I think I was sober for around 18 months. Then there was a time when I was asked to, and I'd been off of alcohol, I'd been off of drugs, everything, except for the medication that I'm prescribed. I had to go to London to give a Lifetime Achievement Award to a dear old friend who was an elderly man, great actor called, his name's Christopher Lee, and he was a dear friend. And I was surprised, he was being surprised by my showing up on stage. I'd just flown in from the States, and so he was surprised by me arriving to give him this award. And Christopher came up and accepted the award. We walked, brought us backstage to this beautiful library where I was with Christopher and his wife, and a waiter came up and had 3 glasses of champagne. And Christopher handed one to his wife, he handed one to me, and then he had the other. And there was a photographer there. And the glass came up to toast. And I just, in my head, I thought, it's just champagne, a little bit tink to toast Christopher and his Lifetime Achievement Award. And so I'd had half a glass of champagne with Christopher Lee and his wife. After that, immediately after that award ceremony, I went to pick up Miss Heard and take her to dinner at a restaurant. And I told her that I'd had a half a glass of champagne with Christopher. And I thought, listen, it's not like, you're sitting in a pub guzzling pints of snake bites or Guinness or doing shots of Jägermeister, or it wasn't even.
You
at
weren't
that
even
point, it
popping
wasn't even
bottles,
for
bruh. I get it.
need to bury feelings or emotions. It was literally a joyous occasion for Christopher, and I said to her, I enjoyed it. It gave me the opportunity to enjoy the actual champagne, the drink, and my appreciation for wine and winemaking, and that I've been fascinated with for years and years. And I saw nothing wrong in it, and I said I'd like to have a glass of champagne. As she was sitting there with a glass of wine, and we were in the restaurant, and she absolutely lost it and got up and stormed to the ladies' room. And I told my security and driver, I said, I think we have to go. We're gonna have to leave. So we left the restaurant and went home. And the mere suggestion of me sipping a glass of champagne or having 1 glass or 2 glasses of wine, she went apoplectic. It was,
Oh, I love that word.
I was weak. I was a complete mess. I was an alcoholic. I was gonna ruin everything. Your kids are not proud of you. They can't stand what you're doing to yourself. So at that point, I said to her, okay, listen, how about this? You want to support me not drinking? I've never asked you this before.
How about you
How
don't
about
drink?
you stop drinking? How about you get sobriety and share this sobriety with me to support me and help me through this?
Wow.
What did she say to that?
No. No. She said, no. She said she didn't have a problem. But I've never had a physical addiction to alcohol. I don't.
How often have you seen Ms. Heard use other illicit drugs in your presence?
Several times.
And what drugs were those?
Um, well, uh, she was always quite fond of MDMA, which is ecstasy,
I don't want to be judgmental.
Um,
I'm not going to even say anything because
and
if you know, you know.
mushrooms. And she had some medications that she was on already
Mm.
that were well, one in particular was quite a high velocity speed, if you will, called I don't know if I can say the name. Am I allowed to say the name? It doesn't matter.
That's not necessary. How often did you see Ms. Heard take MDMA?
A dozen times, 20 times, over the course of the year. During the
They're
course of the
probably
year.
going to go to a morning break, Max, and
And
we're
what
going
about,
to discuss this.
mushrooms?
Mushrooms a little less. Mushrooms probably 6, 7 times.
Because I see that question come up a lot
Mr.
in
Depp, do you
other
recall at the
things, and I
beginning
want to
of
explain it.
your opening, Ms. Heard's counsel mentioned that the first time you supposedly struck Ms. Heard was in response to a comment about one of your tattoos.
Yes, I remember.
And what is your response to that?
It didn't happen. I've never struck Miss Heard. As I said yesterday, I've never struck Miss Heard. I've never struck a woman in my life. I'm certainly not going to strike a woman if she decides to make fun of a tattoo that I have on my body. That's like going into someone's journal and
Oh, we're going to get into
picking out
exactly what
uh,
HIPAA means and
things you don't
who it
like.
applies to.
She had made mention. There was no incident of argument when the tattoo thing had been
What
brought up many
tattoo is it
times, and
that they're talking about?
I mean, there's really nothing I can do. I've always thought of my body as a journal, if you will, to mark experiences, to mark life experiences. For example, when my first child was born, I had her name tattooed over my heart, which is where her little head used to be when I rock her to sleep. I marked my boy's birth by tattooing myself for him. So
Oh, the wino forever?
no one can go back,
that
or no one should go
tattoo is
back
like
and
80
rewrite
years
their
old.
journals.
Like, calm down.
Why would I take such great offense to someone making fun of a tattoo on my body? That allegation never made any sense to me whatsoever.
In conclusion, let me translate for y'all. Johnny Depp is saying
Are
it
there
ain't
any
that deep.
tattoos that you had that Ms. Heard had an issue with, to your understanding?
It wasn't worth going to jail and getting 3 hots in a
Well,
cot
the
to smack her over a
the
tattoo.
tattoo
That's what he's saying.
that I believe is up here, which used to say Winona Forever.
Ah,
was
here we
a
go.
Former girlfriend, and we'd been together for a few years. Winona Ryder, and when we broke up, um, how do you fix that? I did go back and rewrite my journal to some degree. I took off the last two letters um, and had it say wino forever, um, just because I thought it was. I thought it was
Funny.
again
He thought it was funny. He did it.
Through-
It's okay.
pain comes humor. Humor has to come in there at some point into the pain, and that's how you play it out in your mind. So I I have I think sometimes abstractly in that sense. So I changed it to wino forever. Um,
I remember when it
Any other
happened
tattoos?
and they showed it, and I thought it was funny. I saw the humor in it. But that's how I roll.
Well, she was
I deal with
very
trauma with
encouraging.
humor and inappropriate jokes.
In me getting a tattoo of her name or whatever, and I waited a while, and then I did it. I got a full tattoo of her, and it ironically wasn't long after that that everything started going sideways. I was doing anything I could to bring a smile to her face as opposed to the frown
And now you got to get a
and
cover
then
up.
the
I hope it wasn't
onslaught
huge.
of whatever um,
Cover ups are hard,
whatever
complicated, and
problems
frequently painful.
she was seeing or experiencing.
It is sad, Max. I agree.
I I I would try to wake her up with laughter. Um, you know,
And this is
singing
the face you
stupid
got.
songs in her ear while she, I generally just tried to keep bringing her mood up. Sometimes it worked, many times it didn't. Um,
What a monster he is,
but
singing her
I
songs to
tried,
wake her
and I
up,
wanted to try because, as I said,
trying to make
I
her
didn't
laugh.
want to fail. And
Monster.
at the time, not knowing fully, not understanding fully what I was, if you'll excuse the term, up against, um, I kept trying. I kept trying, but to no avail whatsoever. Okay, it just got worse.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to fast forward a little bit to May of 2014. Could you please tell the jury what project you were working on in May of 2014?
May of 2014. May of 2014. There were a number of films that I made in succession. I can't remember if that might have been Pirates. No, I can't. Mordecai or May of, I don't remember what can you remind me what May of 2014 film was?
Were you filming Black Mass in Boston of May of
Ah, yes, okay,
2014?
yes, excuse me, yes, yes. Oh, yes.
Now we're getting to the flight,
I
y'all.
was filming a film called Black Mass in Boston, and Mr. Hurt had come with me. Um, um, and I had to, for the film, I had to.
Hang on, I want to Google
There was
something really
there were
quick,
very
y'all.
early calls to work because I had a number of prosthetics glued to my face and blue contacts, um, so that I could resemble the actual. It's based on the true story of James Whitey Bulger, and so I had to go in quite early to get the prosthetics glued to my face and all that, and work. Then you'd work, the whole day, and then at the end of the night, uh, the they would remove the prosthetics, which takes if it took 3 hours to put them on, it took about an hour to take them off. So on top of what could be anywhere between a 14, 16, 17-hour day of work, what with the application of the makeup and then the taking off of the applications.
Was Miss Heard staying with you in Boston during the entire time that you were making that film?
Yes. Yes, she was.
And who from your staff was in Boston with you during that time?
Jerry Judge. Keenan Wyatt.
Sorry, I got
Stephen
distracted.
Buter's.
I'm totes hitting the Googles ahora.
Nathan Holmes, I believe. And I believe Malcolm Connolly was there as well. So I would have assistants.
Okay,
sound
well, I
technician,
just wanted to, this is
um,
not important, I don't think. But anyway,
security.
bottom line is this. Remember yesterday's testimony about
I believe that was it.
him allegedly shouting
Mr.
stuff
Depp, we heard
to her
yesterday
in
from
reference
Mr.
to James?
Wyatt about a flight
They're
that
going to talk
you
about it right now.
and Mr. Wyatt and Miss Heard were on from Boston to LA in May 2014. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And could you please tell the jury what you remember about that specific flight?
I remember that as I was still shooting, filming Black Mass, before I did Black Mass, the film, my sister Christy and I were talking about the the roxycodones that I had been. Again, that was the monkey on my back. That she came to me. She told me she had read this book of Dr. Kipper's book, and I read Dr. Kipper's book, a good majority of it, and I agreed that I would do the detox. I would kick the.
Oh, that would
the
be perfect,
opiates.
Max 2002. I appreciate
But there
that.
was no
Thanks,
time
sweetie.
to do it before the film. So when the nurse, which was Nurse Debbie Lloyd, when she came to Boston, she had asked me, "What is your dosage? How many of these are you taking per day?" And someone who had been under under the kind of lock and key of a prescription drug that is highly addictive. I mean, with built-in barbs, that this drug does not want you to stop taking it.
No, it does not.
She asked me how many I took per day or my dosage, and of course, as any
What I don't understand about the argument is the James
person
Franco
who's addicted,
element. That's the part I'm not
and,
understanding because they worked on
essentially
Pineapple Express in 2008
a fool
together.
to
So
the
I don't
drug.
get it. But
And you know how important it is because you
I
have
also
felt
don't
the
wanna
sting when
judge.
when you don't have it. So I'd agreed to the detox, and she asked me how many I took. I told her, obviously, more than I was taking, purely because when you're in that frame of mind, the one thing that you do not want to, a situation you don't want to find yourself in, is having no access to the thing that will make you not high. It will
Well,
make you, it gets you, you only get better from it if you start to get the, 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 the shakes and the tremors and uh, the, you could feel this traveling into your system. Your um, receptors are out in mass, and your receptors are demanding that drug. If you don't give the drug to the receptors, you will start going into a pretty nasty withdrawal, and it could, which could and has ended in sort of seizures. You can go into pretty nasty seizures.
wouldn't it, Sugar Beet?
So I had told Debbie Lloyd more than was necessary.
Yeah, that I knew,
so that I could
Amelia,
always
but
have one or two in my pocket.
no,
on the
because
just
there's
in
there
case.
was an argument
So I
between
didn't
them where he allegedly
find
shouted out
myself,
for her to go get
on
effed
a
by Franco
plane
on
or
the film set.
anywhere without one in my pocket to stop the inevitable um, body cramps and nausea and stomach cramps and seizure of the bones and the shaking and also it's quite an emotional ride as well. So yes,
And evidently, he
before
was allegedly
the
quite jealous of
flight,
James Franco.
Amber and her assistant Savannah McMillan wanted to be picked up in New York and then have the plane fly to Boston to pick me up to bring us back to Los Angeles. We had spoken the night before. We had argued the night before. She was most definitely looking for a. She was looking for a fight, actively searching for a way to instigate a fight with me. And I had taken 2 of these opiates, these roxycodones, and I can tell you now, some of you may be very, very well aware of this. Opiates are extreme downers. So if you have enough opiates in you, you will essentially go on what's called the nod. You'll just drop into sleep. So I've heard the words blackout used, and there's a grave difference between a blackout from alcohol abuse, because that is a person who has ingested enough alcohol to render them they can still behave and they can still stand and talk and scream and yell and cry and do whatever they do, and never remember a thing. And generally, they're always embarrassed by it. So blackout is a very, very different animal to
Absolutely, Mrs. O, it can. It's
the
dangerous.
opiate taking you into dreamland. So when I arrived on the plane, I was not feeling any pain, and I knew that she was ready for some kind of brawl, and I I sat on the plane drawing. I was drawing in my notebook. She would verbally heckle, hassle, accuse, uh, poke, prod physically, you know, poke and prod psychologically, emotionally. It just and finally, as was my the one thing I learned: if you're gonna hide someplace from somebody, go straight into the bathroom. So I walked back into the back of the plane. Um, I grabbed a pillow and I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and lay down on the bathroom floor and went to sleep. And that's where I remained for the rest of the flight.
All
How
that
much, if
money
any, alcohol had you had before you got on the flight?
and this guy is sleeping on the floor
I
in the
honestly don't
bathroom.
recall
That's
having any
sad.
alcohol. I mean,
To avoid her.
maybe there was the sort of glass of champagne when you got on the plane or something like that. The initial thing, people order glasses of wine. People also tend to have a few drinks before a plane takes off because some people don't like the turbulence and the this and the that. So it's a little bit of a liquid courage. Um, but I certainly, after ingesting two of the roxycodones, um, alcohol was not necessary. So I can tell you now that I was not drinking to excess, certainly not. And if I had, I'd probably been in the bathroom hugging porcelain as opposed to sleeping on a pillow.
Correct.
Who else was on that flight that you can recall?
I remember Jerry Judge was on the flight. Savannah was on the flight. Ms. Hurd,
Yes, Shmita, that absolutely does happen.
Keenan, Wyatt, Stephen Duders. I believe that's it.
What do you recall happening after you arrived back in LA?
Okay, so there's probably not going to be a morning break then, I feel like. What happened? It's the stream, not me. What happened? Hold on.
To the thing that will make you
Yeah, it's them.
not hot. Yes, before not feeling any pain, it just maybe there was the sort of glass of champagne when.
Who else was on that flight that you can recall?
I remember Jerry Judge was on the flight. Savannah was on the flight. Ms. Hurd, Keenan, Wyatt, Stephen.
Yeah,
Duders.
lunch is going to be soon, though. I don't even think Johnny's going to be done testifying
I
today,
believe that's it.
frankly.
What do you recall happening after you arrived back in LA?
Oh, I wonder if I can put closed captioning on. Let's see. Oh my gosh.
had decided.
Sorry, you guys. I
this is
fixed
the
that's.
Pretty sure.
It is what it is.
I believe she had decided to check herself into the Chateau Marmont. If the, there's so many of these, it's hard to sort of keep them all straight.
Who would have paid for Miss Heard to stay at the Chateau Marmont?
You, me,
Um,
yeah. Johnny Depp.
I'm, I would have paid for it.
Of course so. Of course you would have.
If she wanted to go to the Chateau Marmont, I wasn't going to let her pay for it, no matter the circumstances. I wasn't going to let her pay for it because
Oh.
I knew that might get expensive.
She's
for
taking
her.
notes. Is she going to bust out
Generally,
receipts from the
I,
Chateau Marmont where she paid?
I would take care of things of that nature.
And why, did Miss Heard tell you why she was staying at the Chateau Marmont?
No. Well, I mean, she was clearly upset, and she was irate, and I can't say that it was a bad idea for her to stay at the Chateau Marmont at that time. I don't know why she went to the chateau, since she still had her apartment on Orange, I believe, and the penthouse, because I could have gone to Sweetser, but she went to the Chateau Marmont.
Mr. Depp, do you recall why you were flying from Boston to LA in May 2014?
I can't remember if it was a break from the film or if I had finished the film, and that was before we went.
They're going to use this
Well,
against him.
before I was supposed to go to the island to detox from the opiates.
They're going to say that
I
it
think
because of the
Mr. Depp, I'm
drugs,
gonna
his
have you
memory
switch
is
gears,
bad.
So
Okay,
if this is a
that's-
good time for a break.
Okay, where they're
Ladies,
now
we'll
they're
go
going to
ahead and have
take a
our morning
break.
Recess, please do not do any outside research and don't talk to anybody about the case.
Yeah,
We'll
we
see you in 15
won't.
minutes. Okay.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is HIPAA. Okay. And HIPAA stands for the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act. Okay. HIPAA does not apply to every person in the United States. HIPAA only applies to healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, surgeons. Okay. Those are the kinds of people that it applies to. It also applies to hospitals. Okay. People working in hospitals that would have access to medical records. So people who, okay, like if you call into the ER, all right, and you're asking if somebody is in the ER, there is a disclosure that they have you sign, and you can, when you're in the emergency room, and you can either opt to have, if somebody were to call and ask if you were in the hospital, that you can that they are allowed to release that yes, you're in the hospital, and that's all they're allowed to release. They're not allowed to say why you're there. They're only allowed to say that you are there, right? Or you can opt out of that, in which case if somebody called asking if you were there, they would say no. Okay. But they're not allowed to give out why you're there, right? Okay. Those are the types of people that HIPAA applies to. Okay. So Johnny Depp talking about any knowledge that he may have of any medications, etc., that Amber Heard may or may not have been taking does not fall under HIPAA. It is not a HIPAA violation if somebody, okay, I'll give you an even better example. Me and Schmida, all right? Let's say me and Schmida, in the confines of our friendships, discuss any medical tests that I have had done and their results, or any medications that I may be prescribed, or any diseases, conditions, etc., that I may have, right? If I tell Shmita all of these things, okay, and then Shmita goes to her channel, go like and subscribe to her channel, Shmita's Pictures, and she goes live, right? And she starts talking about all of the things that I told her related to, hey, recliner detective, all of the things related to my medical situation, my any diseases or conditions or medications or tests or any of that stuff. She can talk, let's say she talks about all the things. That is not a violation of HIPAA. Now, if Shmita worked in the doctor's office, okay, and we were not friends, she was simply in the doctor's office, some type of staff there, handling billing, handling because people who do billing handle your medical records, right? Or if she was the office manager, any of that, right? Okay. So let's say that was their circumstances. Shmita and I are not friends. I only know her in the capacity that she is an employee at my primary healthcare physician. Okay. And let's say Shmita, through accessing my health records, finds out that I have a YouTube channel. Okay. And Shmita then goes to her YouTube channel. Please go like, share, and subscribe to Shmita's channel, Shmita's Pictures. Shmita, drop your link, please. Okay. And she goes live and then starts discussing what is in my medical records. That is a HIPAA violation because and in her capacity as a employee at a healthcare provider, she violated the HIPAA, which she would have signed when she became an employee at said healthcare provider. Also, this happens to be that now we have to have Shmita working in the States, okay? Because HIPAA is in the United States. I don't think they have it in Canada. I mean, I'm sure they have something similar in place, but it's not HIPAA. You know what I'm saying? It's not the actual words or the actual acronym. All right. So if she were to do that, then yes, she would violate HIPAA. So bottom line is this: only people who work in some capacity in the healthcare system, okay, are bound by HIPAA. Nobody else. Regular, average, everyday citizens are not bound by HIPAA. It's not a HIPAA violation. If things like this were HIPAA violations, okay, think about it. When I'll give you an example that everybody can remember because we're all from that ratchet ass island. All right. Chris Watts. All right. When the interrogation was taking place and they asked Chris Watts if he was on any medications, right? Had he listed those medications, guess what? Not a HIPAA violation. Us listening to it, us talking about it, none of us are violating HIPAA. HIPAA pertains to medical records. The person whose medical records they are discussing it and then you discussing what they discussed is not a HIPAA violation. Okay. We're not bound by HIPAA. Okay. Nonstop Mom. We all know what she does. Nonstop Mom is bound by HIPAA. Okay. She is bound by HIPAA in that she has access to patients' medical records. She cannot discuss what is in those specific patients' medical records. However, she can talk about any conditions that other people, i.e., people like Chris Watts, people like Amber Heard, people like Johnny Depp, that they discuss themselves. That is not a HIPAA violation, and people get this very, very confused. So that is that as far as HIPAA. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, now I have completely forgotten. Oh, Johnny Depp and his testimony as it pertains to okay, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard can talk about each other's medical records, period, whether or not they discussed it with each other, because they're not bound by HIPAA laws. They don't work in the medical in the healthcare profession in any capacity. So they are, yes, they can absolutely talk about it. They don't have to talk, they can talk about it without to the public, right? Without them speaking about it together. Meaning Amber doesn't have to tell Johnny what kind of medications. She could say nothing to him ever, right? And he goes to the medicine cabinet and he looks in the medicine cabinet and sees prescription pill bottles in her name and what the prescriptions are for. He can talk about that all day, every day, to anybody and everybody he wants to. Can and should are two different things, right? There is a certain, you should keep certain things private. Certain things don't belong on the YouTubes, right? My friend Shmita should never go on the YouTubes and talk about things like that I have discussed with her, because she learned it in the confines of a friendship. You just don't do that to friends, but it's not illegal. And so it's not, I mean, it's correct, but it's not all the way correct. They don't have to have discussed it, is my point. He doesn't have to. It's not nobody that isn't working in the healthcare field in some capacity is bound by HIPAA. Period. Like medical, like the people that work for insurance companies, right? They're bound by HIPAA. Health insurance companies, but to some extent, yeah. To some extent, like let's say you get into a car accident, right? Your car insurance, your vehicle insurance is who would pay for your health care because of the car accident, right? And so in that capacity, the car insurance company would have your medical records because they're paying for it. And yes, that HIPAA would apply to them. But that's it. Nobody else. It doesn't apply to just everybody. Regular, average, everyday people. Now, as far as Mr. Depp and his testimony with respect to cross-exam, I think what the defense is really going to do is go to impeach him on details, because they're going to allege that, see, there's a difference between not remembering and lying, right? And that's why he was, I think his answers were so long for that reason. He's wanting to discuss things without, in a way, being nailed down to facts, right? So like if he had said, yes, she told me why she left, right? And Amber testifies, or there's proof, other witnesses that overheard the conversation. Now, obviously they can't testify to what was said, but they can answer the question whether Miss Heard told Mr. Depp why she wanted to check into the Chateau Marmont. Okay. So there you go. I think that's what I think what they're also going to do is on her side, they're going to bring in witnesses that are going to testify to the fact that Johnny Depp did yell out these things and his behavior on the plane from Boston to LA. And I think what they're going to allege is he admits freely that he took 2 roxicodone. He admits freely he had what he refers to as the nods. He can't possibly remember what he said and what he did on that plane ride. And anybody that says they didn't hear it or they don't recall or it didn't happen, well, they're on his payroll and they're all liars. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to need to play doing the cross-examination of Johnny Depp very, very carefully. If they come too aggressively, it's not going to play well in front of the jury. The only way that they're going to score points with this jury is if they can trip him up in his answers and impeach his testimony, meaning they have to get him to change an answer on cross-examination from his direct testimony and therefore call him a liar. That's what they have to do. See, Mrs. O's explaining it perfectly too. See, there you go. So, that's how Hipaa works. They're not. I feel like it would be a ridiculous, and I highly doubt that they're listening to me. So I highly doubt that I'm giving them any tips and tricks, especially since they're not allowed to be listening to me. But the bottom line is this. I don't think that the smart play for the defense would be to come at Johnny Depp and try to elicit a emotional response, i.e., anger, frustration, right? Because I don't frankly think it will work. I don't think that let's say every allegation about his personality that Miss Heard has made has been 100% true, right? And accurate. Okay. Those are not the people that they're keenly aware of protecting that part of their personality. And the only time they let it out is in private where there are no witnesses. Okay. So even if all of the things that she's ever alleged about his personality are accurate, coming at him to get him to flip emotionally is not going to work. The only way that they're going to get to him is by asking him something on the stand and getting an answer that is in complete conflict with a previous answer given. That's it. They're never going to get to him emotionally. It just won't work. First of all, for the points that I made, but conversely, all right, let's say that everything that Johnny Depp has testified to with respect to his own personality is true. All right. And that he suffered the type of trauma that he says he did, right? Those people are also incredibly adept at controlling their emotions because they have to. Hey, Coolest Reviews. Good to see you. So yeah, going at him and try to elicit an emotional response will not work. Now, for Amber Heard, again, it's different for her because there are witnesses to Amber Heard's behavior. And there are other relationships that she has been in where similar allegations about her behavior have been made. So she's got a completely different element to her personal brand of personality issues, right? And I do think that it would be very easy to provoke her and get her to lash out and show that side of her personality. Because if I'm remembering correctly, I saw a video of her in a deposition where she I have different terms for it, flips her wig, her slip is showing, that kind of stuff. The mask falls and she's angry. And that's, it is what it is. So I wonder what he was testifying to in those like 2 minutes or whatever, one eternity it felt like, where we didn't have audio. You see how I panicked? What's happening? No patience. I've got to work on that. Got to. So, yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions, opinions? Yeah, I agree. I'm going to have to say, I don't think they're going to get him to trip up. I mean, I don't think they're going to I don't think they're going to be able to elicit an emotional response from Mr. Depp. But I will say this. The other thing I wanted to say that I had forgotten about is you can hear the regret in, oh, we're back. You can hear the regret in Johnny Depp's voice when he talks about Vanessa Paradis. I will be right back. I need to get a drink. Please excuse me.
All right, thank you. Be seated. Thank you. All right, your next question.
Thank you. Mr. Depp, who's Dr. Kipper?
Dr. Kipper is he's been my doctor ever since I'd met him in, I believe it was that May of 2014, or around there in Boston.
And why were you connected with Dr. Kipper?
Um, my sister Christy knew, of course, that I had been addicted to the opiates, and she was concerned, and she brought me his book and talked to me heart to heart and asked me if I would be willing to go through the detox.
And what was your answer?
Yes, of course.
And you mentioned Debbie Lloyd. Can you please explain to the jury who she is?
Oh, Debbie Lloyd is a nurse who my doctor, Dr. Kipper, had assigned to my case to be um, to oversee the detox and deliver the medications to me that would help with my with the uh, the effects of withdrawal that one goes through, to essentially try and knock you out so that you don't go through um, the nastiness of the affair.
Did Miss Lloyd stay on after the detox process as your nurse?
Yes, she did.
And when you were under Dr. Kipper's care, how often did you see Miss Lloyd?
On location every day. Um, yes, on location every day. Um, even when after um, a year or two, I was still seeing her at least on a bi-weekly basis, 2 to 3 times a week.
When did you start the detox process that you mentioned?
I know that it, I believe it was in August, July or August of 2015, 14. I cannot remember the year, 14, I guess.
And where did you do this detox process?
Um, uh, we we did the detox process happened on. I have a place in the Bahamas. Um, I'm never comfortable saying this, but it's an island. It's a very strange thing to say, but I thought that that would be the best place, the most private place where there were no worries of um, paparazzi or any of that. So it was a place where I could literally be the only place where I can have actual anonymity. So I thought that would be the best place to do it.
Who came with you down to the island for the detox?
Um, Debbie, Nurse Debbie Lloyd, traveled with me on the plane. Um, uh, Ms. Heard, and I believe that was it. On the plane to go to the island for the detox, I was not bringing um, security. I was not bringing assistance. Um, in, in, in fact, initially, my sister Christy was going to uh, go there to help Ms. Lloyd and the doctor through the detox, which made perfect sense since the whole thing had been born out of her uh, desire for me to get clean. So initially, it was supposed to be Christy coming um, in place of Ms. Heard. I there was a great part of me that was very uncomfortable with Ms. Heard coming along for that um, detox uh, because as things could fluctuate very rapidly in our relationship, um, I I was wary that those things would come up during what needed to be a very straight um, detoxification of these substances. And I was well aware that it was not going to be pleasant. I was well aware that I was going to go through quite a bit of physical changes, physical um, yes, I was afraid that it would be too much for her, and I also felt that she might be too much for me at the time.
So then why did Ms. Heard come down to the island with you during the detox process?
Um, she insisted, and she switched places with Christy.
Could you please describe for the jury, Mr. Depp, what it feels like to go through a detox from opioids?
I would say the best way to describe it is
Hell,
it feels like
dying
it feels like the inside of you,
is on
the
fire.
very inside of you, is trying to escape the body. So
No, she has
it's
not. Coolest reviews.
it becomes
This is still
obviously
Johnny
very
Depp's
physical,
case. He's still presenting
and so
evidence.
therefore you'll go into a withdrawal would mean that you would go into you'd have immense cramps in your stomach, your muscles would seize, you my body would shake.
Let me translate this
The
for the
pain
too
is
long didn't read.
like
Every
nothing I've
cell
ever
in your body
experienced
hurts.
before. Part of it was so the best way to explain it. For example, there was a situation that when we were on the island and I was going through the detox, uh, and it was hitting pretty hard at that point. Um, and Ms. Heard had made a deal with Nurse Debbie and Dr. Kipper to stay at their end of the island, and that she would administer the drugs to me, administer the medications that I needed to not go into the, for lack of a better word, these intense, sharp, painful heebie-jeebies. Um, and there was a moment
Yes, Christine.
when I
That's
could feel my
exactly
body starting to
the way it
tense,
feels.
and
It's bad. I've been
I
there.
could
I
feel
had
the
to
withdrawals going on, and they
get off of Norco,
come
and
on
it's
quick,
bad. It's hard. It's not an
and
easy thing to do. And I was prescribed
they're
it,
not they're not discreet.
and I chose to get off of it. So it's
Um,
difficult. It's no fun. That's for sure.
they go straight for the jugular. I mean, like I said, when your receptors are in full bloom and begging for the the substance, the drug, the opiates that my body had become used to, these receptors that were being fed by. Um, there was a moment when it was coming on very fast, and I was sitting on the couch in the little house that we all saw on the island. Miss Heard was at she was in the sort of kitchen area, and she was chopping vegetables, I remember. And I think it was around 2:30 in the afternoon, and the effects of the withdrawals were really coming on. And I said to Miss Heard, I'm going to need the meds now. And she said, she looked at the clock and she said, it's not time. And I said, no, you don't understand. This is not about clocks and watches and things. I'm going, I'm going into the ship, and it was visible. And
Hey,
I hate,
Cement Shoes. Good to see you.
I hate saying this, and I hate to have to admit this.
When they break for
But that
lunch and we
was
take our break, I'm gonna look for
believe
pictures
that
of
was
her as Nadine. I'm
about the lowest
telling y'all
point
that hairstyle is exactly the same. And
in
if you
my
know the
life.
book, The
That was
Stand,
the
you'll
lowest
understand why it's
I'd ever felt
disconcerting.
as a human being, because I had to say, please, please, may I have the meds, because it's really kicking in. And she was adamant, no, it's not time, it's not time. So in explaining how these withdrawals start to take over your body, when I was begging at that point for the meds, I found that I had sort of rolled off the couch and I was sitting on the floor crying. I mean, tears streaming down my face, begging another human being to please, please give me the meds that will take this away. And she would not. She was adamant that, nope, it's not time, 4 o'clock. So the only thing that one can do in that situation is you have to trick the body. You have to manipulate your body out away from those. Well, you have to trick the body to get away from the receptors. So the only thing that one can do is you go straight to the shower
Hmm.
and you put it on scalding water and you stand underneath the scalding shower and essentially you're burning the top, your skin is burning from the heat of the water. And what that would do is it would trick the nerves away from the receptors because
It's a
they had
distraction
an
for
immediate
your,
problem that
yep.
needed to be dealt with, the nerves. So what it does is the scalding shower would reverse those nerve endings, and they would go up to the top of the skin because there was a problem there. So that's how I was able to bypass um, those withdrawal symptoms at times. It doesn't fully take them away, but what it does is it tricks your body into thinking that there's something going horribly wrong on top. So it keeps them away from the receptors. Um, and after that, I had a conversation with Nurse Debbie and with Dr. Kipper, and I said, I don't believe, I told them that she had denied me the meds when I was in need, and then I told them that I don't think that this is going to work here anymore. I think we have to leave the island, and I need to be, we she can't be with me while I'm going through the rest of this detoxification. So I told them we should leave the island. Um, I told, I asked them if if they understood what I was doing, and they did. So we went back to Los Angeles, and then I asked Miss Heard if she would please uh, allow me 5 days, 7 days, whatever it took to get done with, finished with the rest of this horrific detox and the pain.
Did Miss Heard give you that time?
She did reluctantly, yes.
I
I
believe
was
the term you're
immediately
looking
accused
for
of
is begrudgingly.
throwing her out. I was accused of abandoning her. I was accused of not appreciating all that she had done to get me to this point where I was, which was kind of an interesting argument for me. I begged her, please, can I get a place at the Beverly Hills Hotel? I'll get you and your friends a bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel where you can all stay together and have a grand old flag. You can have fun, you can do whatever you want, and you don't have to sit around Mr. Shaky. And she wasn't happy about it, but I, it was very necessary. So she did eventually leave for about five days or so, and I sat in after a few days, I sat in just a metal chair with one song on uh, one song on a loop that I could focus on the lyrics and the power of the song to help me get through it. And even once the deep the effects started to go away, that is the pain, I was still in this something strange that happens. You feel you feel electricity in your body. You feel this electric, um, very foreign, and
And it
you're
makes you
just sitting
jolt.
sitting there like going through it.
I believe
And
for
I
the
didn't understand what
the
the
translation
electricity
for and
was
the too long didn't read version of
until
this
probably,
entire
and this
testimony
lasted for
is going through
electricity. That
detox
that
with
that
Amber
feeling
Heard
lasted
as
for
your
a
nurse.
month, 2 months,
The only
and I
word that you can
finally
use to describe
realized
it is
at a certain point
parlay.
what that electricity was, and I was feeling is that's what it was. I was actually feeling without the aid of the drug, without the aid of any drugs. I mean, I had refused with Dr. Kipper and Nurse Debbie and Amber at the table before she left for the hotel with her friends. I had refused to continue taking the phenobarbital and the lithium uh, because to me it was just another drug in the way. It seemed like it was just another hurdle to get over. And I would rather just get it out of my system now and move forward. Maybe I wouldn't have had the electricity. Maybe I wouldn't have felt as quickly. But I didn't want to take phenobarbital and lithium and Seroquel and Neurontin and all these other things. And the worst of the two, I believed, were the phenobarbital and the lithium. So I went through that.
Just so you guys know, it's not me, it's the stream. There's nothing I can do about it. There's a lot of people watching, and it is what it is. I'm sorry. It'll come back. And the only reason how I know it's not me is because StreamYard is decent, and what they do is when your signal is getting bad for the stream, they will yeah, see. Let's go back a little bit. Huh. they will show this little pop-up that shows the Wi-Fi symbol, and it'll show you that, Johnny Depp done broke the internet, y'all. I have it sped up a little bit, so whenever it does come back, it'll be quicker, as it were. But yeah, she's done broke the internet, and they're fixing to be on their lunch break anyway. So, yeah. But while we're waiting for it to come back, like how, okay, I can understand, as a human being, right? And I can also understand I can understand both Johnny Depp's situation with Detox, and I can also understand Amber Heard's, right? In that, watching somebody that you love go through Detox is difficult. It is probably as difficult as watching them be addicted, frankly. Yeah, they've gone to their lunch break. So we'll just stop sharing real quick. Anyway, so, but I also understand being the person on the other side of the Detox. Okay. I had back surgery and I was prescribed pain medication, and I took it. I became dependent on it. My body became dependent on it. And I stopped taking it all by myself. That one was difficult. That time was difficult. Then years later, because of the type of surgery that I had, it wasn't never intended to be permanent. I had a laminectomy, discectomy at the L5 and L6, and it was never intended to be a permanent. What I should have had was a fusion, but I was young. I was only 30 years old, and my neurosurgeon said I'm not going to perform a fusion on a 30-year-old. So we're going to do this, and it's going to last. If you do physical therapy, work on getting as much of your stomach muscles back intact as much as you can. Cause at that point I had 4 C-sections. Right. And although you can, I'll never have a 6-pack because they cut your abdominal wall and it never heals. Right. But it goes back the way it was. So anyway, years later, like 5-6 years later, the back pain became again overwhelming, and I got prescribed Norco, and I was on it for like 2 years, and I decided I don't want to take it anymore. And that was okay. I've been in Florida since 2017, and we're in 2022. So I quit taking the medication in 2022, or excuse me, in 2017. And I've been off of medication ever since then. But I went and detoxed unsupervised, which I don't recommend. It was incredibly dangerous, and it could have been really, bad things could have happened. So I know what it feels like to be Johnny Depp. And when he says what he's saying, he's 100% accurate. And when Christine said what she said, that's 100% how you feel. You feel like every cell in your body hurts, every single cell. And it's bad. But to have your partner who volunteered to be there and be supportive in an emotional sense and in a physical sense by handing out the medication that helps you get through the withdrawal, who just absolutely refuses to do that, it makes detox 11 billion times more difficult. And then And then for you to say, okay, I'll make a deal with you. I'm going to check in at the hotel. And oh, by the way, I'll get you and your friends a bungalow so you can party like it's 1999 is ridiculous. That shows her level of maturity. It's one thing to be, and this isn't a slight because helping a loved one through a detox is incredible, it's emotionally taxing. And so that's a lot of the reason why people choose outside professionals. Oh, hold on, it's back. Hold on. Anyway, it's difficult. And that's why people choose to go into detox centers and have professionals deal with it, help them through it, right? So that part, okay. But to make it a situation where you're partying is profoundly immature. It's one thing to not be there, right? Because you can't be. But it's another thing for you for your spouse to have to find an activity to keep you entertained. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, I'm going to put it back to normal. Let me push play. All right, here we go.
She and Miss Heard were not on particularly great terms.
And thank you guys for saying that. I appreciate it.
several
It's
reasons.
difficult.
Um,
And it doesn't
there were
discriminate.
a
You're
number of-
100% correct.
number of
But it can be
Miss Heard's
done.
friends and her family. So I'd say all in all, maybe there were, seems like there could have been no more than 20 people, 25 people, maybe.
Was there any alcohol served at the wedding?
Yes, there was alcohol served at the wedding. There was champagne. There was all the accoutrements. And then, yes,
And was anyone ingesting any illegal drugs at the wedding?
yes.
And who was doing that?
Well, there was a schedule that was written out and printed out and sent out, so that everyone would know exactly the time that everything would happen. And on that sheet, the schedule, there was um, uh, like some kind of rehearsal type thing. There was also um, there was a great dilemma in who was going to be who. That's where the argument between uh, Ms. Pennington and Io Tillett Wright.
Mr. Depp, who did you observe taking drugs at the wedding?
Um, a number of people were taking MDMA. As I said, the list, there was after the wedding, there was a, a it was like dinner, dancing, and drugs on the schedule uh, that came from Ms. Heard and Ms. Pennington. Um, so Amber, um, Raquel, a couple of friends of mine, um, Savannah, her assistant, Tillett Wright, uh, all of her, uh, all of her gang were all partaking in of the MDMA.
What if any MDMA did, and what if any drugs did you take that day?
Again, to be honest with you, um, I mean, I don't know how much MDMA they had, but for me, that was, for me to have taken MDMA would have been a waste of the drug. If you understand what I mean, it would have been essentially taking someone else's high, because it wouldn't have an effect on me.
So
It-
how many drugs did you actually take that day?
the day of our wedding,
Yes.
I smoked marijuana, and I don't remember drinking. I don't remember if that I was drinking then. This was right. This was right before she was going to London to do, I believe, London Fields, and I was going off to Australia to do Pirates 5. I'm pretty positive at that point I wasn't partaking of alcohol. My drug of choice is, or was, and it is marijuana. It's that's all that was fine for me. Um,
When
so
you and
so
Mr.
dipping into a little tiny baggie of, licking your finger and dipping into a little tiny communal bag of MDMA, it was pointless for me.
When you and Miss Heard got married, did you have a prenuptial agreement in place?
No, we did not, no.
And why not?
There always seemed to be some reason or another why she wouldn't wouldn't discuss it, or if we did discuss it, it became an issue that would turn into it would springboard into unpleasantness and then arguments. And then it was also too late. At a certain point, it was just too late. So then the idea of a post-nup agreement was brought up to Miss Heard, and that was in Australia. That was the beginning of the Australian
Well, let's
fight.
talk about Australia then. But first of all, why were you in Australia?
I was working on Pirates of the Caribbean 5.
And who from your team was with you in Australia?
Just while he's trying to figure out who all was
Jerry
there,
Judge,
um,
Malcolm Connolly,
I think the fact that the
Nathan Holmes,
taking of the
Stephen
MDMA
Duders,
was scheduled, as it
Keenan
were,
Wyatt.
shows that she's no amateur when it comes to partaking, because
Yeah, that was it.
people who
yeah,
partake
yeah. No, that's
know how to plan it
Was
out
Miss
so
Lloyd
it
in
hits just at
Australia
the
with you
right
as well?
perfect
Oh,
time.
yes, sorry, yes. Miss Lloyd traveled to Australia with us.
And did Dr. Kipper come down to Australia at any point?
Yeah, Dr. Kipper came down a bit later.
Mr. Wyatt testified yesterday that he observed you have a meeting with Sean Bailey in Australia. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And could you please tell the jury who Sean Bailey is?
Sean Bailey that time was, I believe he was the number three man at Disney in terms of hierarchy. He was upper echelon Disney, so he was under Bob Iger, and initially under Dick Cook, who was removed from Disney for some reason. So yes, he was number three man at Disney.
And why were you having a discussion with Mr. Bailey?
Um, the discussions that I was having with Mr. Bailey, with Sean Bailey, were they had to do with, well, as I think we've established, I have always, from the beginning of that series of films, I had always rewritten my character's words and jokes, if you will, and situational comedy and things that I would add. And Mr. Bailey was very complimentary about some of the things that I'd done.
Is that what the
He'd
meeting was
come
about,
over to
babe?
me
I just need
laughing
to
after
know.
a take.
Calls for hearsay.
Your Honor, this is just discussing generally what they were talking about.
He was getting specific. I'll sustain that if you want to continue. That's fine.
All right, Chick Tracy.
Mr. Depp, was Miss Heard in Australia
Sweet
with you?
dreams.
She came a little later, yes.
Because I'm assuming
recall
you're
when
going to
she
make
came
me
down?
niece. Night night.
I don't recall. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Mrs. O.
no, I do recall. It was March. It was March.
And what happened when Miss Heard came to visit you in Australia?
Nothing good. Oh, sorry. I'm not testifying. Oh,
Ms.
back
Heard
to
was
writing her
upset
list.
because, as I stated earlier, as it was too late for a prenup agreement, there was discussion of post-nup agreement, and I had called my lawyer at the time and asked him if he could have one of his lawyers sit down with Ms. Heard and give her a basic rundown of what a postnuptial agreement meant, and I was told that they showed her.
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor, this is what something he asked an attorney. It's not a statement of fact that's being offered for its truth.
Yeah, I'll sustain the objection.
What?
What did Miss Heard tell you she was upset about when she arrived in Australia?
Ms. Heard told me that the attorney that she met with was rude and dismissive, and all she was being shown was a an example of a postnuptial agreement. Ms. Heard then stated to me that she was very upset. She stated to me that that what she had said was, she said to the lawyer, the woman, that this Johnny can't, he must not, he doesn't know about this. He's never seen, he doesn't know that this is what this is. No way he would agree to this.
Yeah, it's cement shoes.
And what Ms. Heard then expressed to me was that the lawyer, the woman, had laughed at her and said, "Oh, he knows. Yes, he knows everything." Which sent her into a tailspin. So by the time she arrived in Australia, that was sunk very deep into her her psyche. I mean, so much so that what really surprised me was that she kept saying, "I'm not even in your will. I'm not even in your will." I thought that was an odd thing to say,
It's a very odd thing to say, Mr. Depp. I agree.
especially since I don't think anybody had had time to change wills or anything of that nature. Um,
Especially because I watch
those
Snap
things
so
just
much. Mm-hmm.
it felt wrong, and she could not let go of the fact that I was in on this post-nup agreement, and that I was trying to trick her into essentially getting nothing if something were to happen.
And how did you respond to Miss Heard?
So I just told her those are not my intentions, you know. And at a certain point, you don't know what to do. I mean, the person is telling you, she's
Exactly,
telling
cement
you, you
shoes.
don't trust me,
Yes.
you don't trust me, you don't trust me, and I, I can't speak about legal documents. I can't speak legalese. I can't.
You're not an attorney.
explain
We
to
get it.
her these things. All I could do was try to calm her down and say that I was not out to screw her over or put her in a position that was uncomfortable.
Did that work?
These were stock, normal things to do. It did not work. No, it escalated and escalated and turned into
Johnny, did you
madness,
ever try
chaos,
throwing Xanax in her mouth
you
while
please
she was
violence.
yelling? I'm
Can you
just
please
asking because
describe that
there's a
chaos
meme
and
about
violence?
that, and I just think that might be apropos for the situation.
Yes, she was irate. She was irate, and
Or,
she
or
was
spritzing her with lavender and
possessed.
chamomile, to calm her down.
And when I tried to remove myself, as I normally would from a situation,
Or maybe a thunder
that is to say,
jacket.
as she's hammering me with sort of brutal words and you know, I don't, pardon my language, but I remember that it wasn't nice, sort of being called an ass kisser to lawyers or a pussy
Oh,
that didn't fight for her or stand up for her. Um, um, I again tried to remove myself from the situation, but to no avail. As I
yes,
literally,
Amelia.
the house that
Yes.
they had rented for me in Australia was quite a large place. It was quite a bit of a labyrinth, and a lot of rooms, a lot of extra rooms. So I would go to, well, I'll just cut to the chase. I
Thank you.
think that I ended up locking myself in about at least 9 bedrooms, bathrooms that day, as she was banging on the doors and screaming obscenities and wanting to have a physical altercation.
So how did it come to be that your finger became injured?
There was at one point where I'd stayed in one of the, sitting on a bathroom floor, door locked. She's banging away, screaming, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly she stopped. And I could
Oh,
hear her walk away.
thank you,
I
mi
could
amor,
hear her
Michelle. Welcome to
sort of
members.
receding into the
Can't see what it
distance, if
is
you
on
will. And
StreamYard. Let me look on YouTube. Welcome to the
I-
Fall Club. Good to
Yes,
see ya.
yes, it became very emotional because you can't win for losing.
Mr.
There
Depp,
was
did you
nothing I
ever
could
try to
do
prevent Miss
to
Heard from consulting her own
make her
attorneys with
understand
respect
that
to a post
I
nump?
had,
No,
if
that's what
that
I thought.
lawyer had in fact done that, and I did call my lawyer at the time, Jake Bloom, and I had him get these people on the phone, and uh, I'm ashamed to say that I had taken, at that point when I was on the phone with him, I had taken Miss Heard's words to heart, and and I laid out a ration of very I was very upset that she was pushed to that limit because I had believed it, um, and in fact none of it had happened. So
Oh, holy guacamole.
it was all getting too crazy. And again, I had been sober for many, many months from alcohol and substances, aside from the marijuana.
Marijuana don't count.
And I left the place, the room that I was hiding in, or not hiding, locked myself into. And I went downstairs in the house. Downstairs in the house, as soon as you walk in the house, you can go upstairs or downstairs. Downstairs, there was a sort of a rec area, pool table and such. And there was a bar. And I was a mess. I was a wreck. I was shaking, and I just didn't understand why all this was happening. So I went behind the bar. I grabbed a bottle of vodka that was there and a shot glass and sat at the bar. She was nowhere around. And I poured myself 2 or 3 stiff shots of the vodka. First taste of alcohol I'd had in a long time. And then she came down to the bar and found me there. And of course, started screaming, "Oh, you're drinking again, yeah, the monster," and all that. So she walked up to me and reached and grabbed the bottle of vodka, and then just kind of stood back and then hurled it at me, and it it just went right past my head and smashed behind me. Uh, so I stood up and I walked behind the bar, and there was a larger bottle of vodka, the kind with the handle, on it. I grabbed that and I went and I sat in my seat again. I opened the bottle and I poured myself a shot, drank it. Miss Heard was flinging insults left, right, and center, and she then grabbed that bottle and threw that at me. Um, and the way that the bar was situated and where Miss Heard was. So if if I could show you, so if this is the bar where the glass was and the bottles, if this was the bar and I was sitting here like this, she would grab the bottle and she would go there. She went there, and so I was leaning like this in the chair, looking at her. First bottle went, then got the other bottle, shot, takes the second bottle, which was the larger one. I'm in this position again, and my hand is on the edge of the bar, like that, and leaning over, the fingers like that, and she threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere. And I honestly didn't feel the pain at first at all. I felt no pain whatsoever. What I felt was, I felt heat. I felt heat, and I felt as if something were dripping down my hand, you know. And then I looked down and realized that the the tip of my finger had been severed, and I was looking directly at my bones sticking out, and the 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 meaty portion of the inside of your finger, um, and blood was just pouring out. And at that point, I I I, I think that I went into some sort of, I don't know what a nervous breakdown feels like, but that's probably the closest that I've ever been. Nothing made sense. And I knew in my mind and in my heart, this is this is not life. This is not life. No one should have to go through this. And as I said, this feeling of nervous, being in the middle of some sort of nervous breakdown, I started to write with my blood, in my own blood, on the walls, um, little reminders from our past that essentially represented lies that she had told me and lies that I had caught her in. Um, and and then the next thing, amongst all the madness, I would again hide in the bathroom or wherever, and I texted Dr. Kipper and I said, "You might want to come over. I've cut my finger off here."
Which finger was cut, Mr. Depp?
It's the middle. It's the funny looking one. It's the middle finger here. You can see you can see all the sort of from the initial wound, all these bones up here were crushed, and it looked like Vesuvius, you know. And so this part of my finger now is, so that, because of not having use of the tip here, this is basically uh, arthritis that kicks into the joint once that uh, upper part of the finger is mangled.
So is that the right middle finger?
Right middle, yes.
And is that your dominant hand?
Yes, it is, yes.
Mr. Depp, after Ms. Heard threw the vodka bottle at you and severed your finger, um, what, if anything, did she say when she saw the injury?
I don't recall anything, but just it was almost like white noise, just someone yelling. It was just a high pitched, constant um, attack of insults. It was just jumbled words to me in a very high frequency, and I was in a bit of shock. I was in shock.
You mentioned that you reached out to Dr. Kipper. Did you receive medical attention after that?
Yes, Jerry Judge, Malcolm Connolly, I believe Debbie Lloyd was there. Yes, Debbie Lloyd was there. Ben
Why do I
King
feel like she probably yelled out, "We're
had
not going to
arrived as
get our
well.
Who
deposit
is Ben
back
King?
now"?
Ben King was he's essentially he's a house sort of an estate manager, and we worked together in London a few times, and
Amen,
he's a
cement
wonderful
shoes. You know,
guy.
I
So
can't
I
highlight that,
brought
but I feel that in my
Ben
soul.
along to Australia to manage everything. He's very good and very nice.
Or she
And
can't even
then
cry. She's an
there was
actress.
also
This would be the time. Cry, Amber. At least let 2 tears fall. Just
I
2.
mentioned Malcolm
Or hell, give
and
Johnny
Jerry.
Depp a
Yes,
nod
they were
to
there
cry,
then.
baby, and just cry 1 tear.
Which, if any,
Something.
of the medical professionals that you saw that day did you tell what happened to your finger?
When Malcolm and Dr. Kipper, when they took me to first we went to Malcolm's apartment where he was staying while we were shooting the film, and tried to clean my hand because I had worked the day before, and obviously when you're playing pirate, Captain Jack or whatever, you're you're covered. They paint with alcohol, with rubbing alcohol. They paint dirt all into your hands and into your face and everything. So they were worried about getting my finger clean. So they tried doing that at Malcolm's, and then Kipper said, "No, we got to get to emergency room, and we got to get hold of the tip of his finger." So we went to the emergency room. The doctor asked me what happened,
Yes, Christine.
and I lied to him.
I can't
I
highlight
said
that
that I
either
had
because
smashed it in these large
YouTube has a
accordion
policy
doors
now about that
that it got
subject.
caught in the accordion doors.
Why would you lie about that?
I lied because I did not. I didn't feel. I didn't want to disclose that it was what it was. I didn't want to disclose that it had been.
Because DV
I
victims
didn't want.
frequently
I
lie
didn't want
and protect
to
their
disclose that it
abusers.
had been misheard. That had thrown a vodka bottle at me and then took my finger off. I didn't want to get her in trouble. I didn't want to. I tried to just keep things as copacetic and as
No, you're okay, Christine.
possible
What you
for
said is
everyone.
okay in the chat, but I
did not
can't put
want
it on
to
the stream. It's
put her
okay.
name in that.
You didn't do
in that
anything.
mix.
Did you tell Dr. Kipper what had actually happened to your finger?
Yes.
After you returned from the hospital, where did you go?
I went to
I do have a
Malcolm
question.
Connolly's
If anybody is in here listening
apartment,
and is from Australia,
and slept on his couch.
if Johnny Depp had reported the
And to
truth
the
from the
extent that you know
beginning of
was
what
misheard during
happened
this time.
with his finger,
Um,
what kind of charges could he have
Misheard.
potentially been facing?
Was I wasn't there, but I had it was clear that she
I
had
mean,
to,
could she have potentially
she
been
needed to leave.
facing? My bad.
And I'd asked them to get her on a flight from Melbourne or Sydney or wherever back to Los Angeles.
Why did you ask for that?
I
Because she had to go.
I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to have any more arguments. I was, for all intents and purposes, I was just done.
Hi,
Mr. Depp,
Team
I'd like
Psych
to show you a
Ward.
picture. If we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 145. Mr. Depp,
Yes.
what is this a picture of?
That is, that's me in the emergency room. And I see a detail that I'd forgotten, which is Ms. Hurd had taken my cigarette from the ashtray and stomped it out in my face here.
Could you mark on
What?
the screen where you see that?
Um, it's right above that green.
I
dot.
don't think so, Sugar Beet.
And do you know who took this picture?
I do not know.
I think you mean immunity,
Can we please publish this to the jury?
not ammunition.
Enter into evidence.
Yes, please.
I don't
Okay.
think that she could have asked
All
for
right,
parlay.
45 in evidence. You can publish to the jury.
Hopefully Kezchik will come in here, but if she doesn't, the next time I see her, I'm going to
So,
ask. Yeah, it did.
Mr. Depp, now that the jury can see the photograph, can you again explain what that green dot is identifying?
Just above just above the green dot is a wound from Ms. Hurd taking my cigarette, and this is after the finger had gone away, and she stubbed it out in my face and on my cheek. So
If
that's
we
the result of that.
If we could please take this down, and I'd like to show you, Mr. Depp, Plaintiff's Exhibit 144.
Absolutely disgusting. You're absolutely correct.
Yep, it's
What is this a picture of, Mr. Depp?
the remains of my finger.
And was this taken shortly after you were injured?
I believe this was taken at the emergency room, I'd imagine.
I'd move to this into evidence, but I'd like to also warn the jury and the people in the
All right.
audience that this is a very graphic picture.
All right. Any
Brace
objections?
yourselves.
All right. 144.
Oh my. I didn't realize it was going to
Take
look
this
like
down. Thank you.
that's, huh. Well,
Mr. Depp, how
not
long
his whole
after your
finger.
finger was injured did you return to LA?
Team Psych Ward.
After the emergency room.
Wait. 5 years is what she could be
following day,
facing as
I was sent to they'd found a
Penalty,
surgeon
cement shoes,
in
if he would
Australia,
have told the truth.
so that I could go. They wanted me to take have X-rays taken and all that. So we went to that doctor, the finger surgeon, and he asked me what happened to my finger, and I again lied, and I stuck to the story that it was smashed in an accordion, a large accordion door, and he looked at me as if I were lying, and the next thing I heard was, "Sir, that is a wound of velocity." And
Your Honor, this is a communication in the context of medical treatment.
I'll sustain the objection. Moving on.
Well, they heard it anyway, so
So
I
Mr.
didn't.
Depp, this was a surgeon you saw in Australia.
yes,
When did you return to Los Angeles after seeing that surgeon?
I believe it was probably the next day, where might have been Kipper, or someone who had hooked me up with a wonderful, a great expert in reconstruction of hands, fingers, digits, whatever. So I went to see the surgeon, and we prepped for surgery, pretty quickly.
And what type of surgery did you have on your finger?
The majority of this was all missing, and essentially, to some degree, hollowed out, if you will, because the bone had shattered, and then there was the bone that was sticking out down there. So he had to do a skin graft from this part of my hand, and graft it onto my finger, to to give me a finger again.
Anything else that was done to your finger?
Absolutely,
Stabilize
Team
it.
Psych Ward. Absolutely.
I don't think it was initially that they put the pin in. I think the pin feels like the pin came later. I'm not sure, but you just I had to go after the surgery. It was bandaged up, and they give you all kinds of things on what to do, what not to do, keep it elevated or this or that, and I just walked away with a very large middle finger. It was all wrapped up to like this, and then, medicated. They've given me shots in there and such.
How long did you wear that bandage that you just described?
Remember when Jodi Arias tried to show
Well,
her
the
finger and
bandage
how
was
messed up it was after
from
Travis
the
Scott
time of the
and it Travis, not Travis Scott, after
surgery
Travis,
all the way
and
through the remainder of
it was nothing.
finishing Pirates of the Caribbean.
Nobody
which
could figure out what she was trying
got
to do.
finished. The injury took place
I don't
in
know why I
March.
said Travis Scott. Sorry.
Finished Pirates of the Caribbean 5, I believe, in August, beginning of August, end of July.
And you
So
got
there
this-
was a bandage on it the whole time. And what I had to do was where, because of, there's a special effects um, trick that they had planned. Basically, whatever bandage I had on, as long as they could, they would put
Travis
little
Alexander,
green
not Travis
dots,
Scott. I don't know
for
what my
example,
problem is.
on the
Sorry.
splint and the finger and all that, and the bandages, so that in post-production they could use what's called computer-generated imagery, CGI, to erase the bandage and replace it with a normal finger. That's how we finished the film.
If we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 61.
Which, side note, costs extra money because that wasn't budgeted in. Uh, you know,
And if we could scroll to the second picture.
oh, hey, Nadine, I mean Amber Heard.
Third.
So, oh, here we go. She's on
One more,
page
please.
87
Another.
of her legal pad with notes.
Sorry, this is a series of pictures. And to spare everyone, I don't think I'll show you the immediate injury again. This was right one right here. Thank you. Mr. Depp, do you recognize this picture?
Yes, I do.
And what's reflected in this picture?
This was taken in the surgeon's office.
Yes, they would have team psych ward. Absolutely.
Where I'd go in well, I had to go in every few days to have it checked out for infections and such. And so the finger, non-finger, was wrapped quite heavily, and there was this medicated, kind of greasy medicated thing on top of the wound itself. And this, I believe, seems like when the pin was in here, and the wrapping is, the bandage is, well, I had my choice, and I thought, well, may as well take the kitty bandages, dinosaurs and hearts and unicorns.
Christine, I said
As I
the
said,
same thing. I thought he was wearing a bump it. I'm not even
have some
gonna
humor,
front. Not a
to
fan.
deflect the pain.
Your Honor, I'd like to move Plaintiff's Exhibit 61 into evidence.
Do you want the whole exhibit or just this picture?
If we could publish the whole exhibit.
You want the whole picture, the
Yes.
whole exhibit? Any objection to 61?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 61, but you just want to publish this part of 61? Okay, thanks.
It's about, oh my.
So how long after your injury was this picture taken?
After the initial injury,
Yes.
I'd say no more than, it would seem to me, no more than 5 days, a week.
And how long was this bandage on your hand for?
Well, I was wearing bandages all the way up until I finished.
I mean, the fact that he's got
Film,
hearts
I
all
mean-
over it is, wow.
Yeah, up through August, for sure.
It is the
and
pink hearts for me
Beyond, I had to keep it.
too,
I
Christine.
had to keep it covered. I had to keep it protected.
Bless his little heart.
Do you recall how long after the injury that how long after the surgery the pins were removed from your finger?
I would say maybe, I think it was about 2 or 3 days, because I remember that there was maybe more, but I just remember that the pain seemed to be getting worse and worse as Debbie would rate it, from is this an 8 out of 10? Is this a 3 out of 10? that kind of thing. At a certain point, it became kind of a 12 out of 10 because it, it felt hot, very, very, very hot, and it felt there was throbbing. It was like it was throbbing, and the pin in there. It was like I could feel the pin in there. So
Yeah. Yeah. Chick
we
Tracy
called the surgeon. I called
wins the
surgeon,
internet for today.
told him, actually, I think it might have been Debbie Lloyd actually that called, but I knew I had to see the surgeon again because something felt very wrong. And I went there and he removed all the bandages and he found that that my finger was
I
indeed
can't.
infected and that I had contracted MRSA.
Oh, that's bad
MRSA,
news.
which is like a
It's a
I believe it's like a
antibiotic resistant
flesh-eating
staph.
disease or something. But it was a pretty grotesque sight. After with the pin in and what they had to do to save it.
Mr. Depp, while your finger was injured and healing, did you ever take any opiates during that time?
No, ma'am. No more.
He said, no, ma'am. Look
Your
how
Honor,
cute he
I'm about to
is.
switch gears, so if
All right,
it makes
we can
sense to
do
take
that.
our lunch break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our hour lunch break. Come back at 2 o'clock. Just make sure you do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research. We'll
Hour.
See you at 2.
Bruh. You're absolutely correct, Team Psych Ward. I'm going to put that up here. There really is not. And that is a shame because it shouldn't be that way. It should be equal.
And again, sir, since you're still testifying, you cannot discuss your testimony with your attorneys or with anybody else, okay? All right. See everybody at 2? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, excuse me. Give me just a sec. Let me stop sharing real quick because we don't need to hear all, we don't need to say all that. Ma'am or Michelle, I wanted to say thank you for the super chat so much. I didn't want to interrupt the testimony while it was happening to thank you, although I should have because I interrupted everything else, all the other testimony. But thank you so much. It was very, very sweet of you. I appreciate it so much. The thing is that people, I think this is going to be an issue, and I'll tell you, hang on just a second. Let me mute this real quick. Hello. Mute. Yeah, let me just go ahead and mute you. All right. So the only negative about that testimony is this. They have him on the stand admitting that he lied. Okay. And it is, I promise you, I have a very strong feeling that I think they're going to bring that out, because what they're going to say, in my opinion, is this. Either you're lying then, we're lying then about what happened, which you admit that you were lying then, right? Or you're lying now about you lying then, but either way, you are a liar. And that could be problematic. Although I think there isn't as much awareness, like Team Psych Ward pointed out, as far as that goes, and there isn't as much as many resources, and people don't talk about it the same way that they talk about domestic violence against women. But I do think that they're going to make an issue out of it. I just don't think that the jury is going to buy it. I think that the jury is going to understand that, first and foremost, that is a typical response from domestic violence victims, be it male or female, period. I think also that the truth is, no, I understand why he did it, recliner detective. What I'm saying is what the attorneys for her side are going to point out. They are going to point out that he lied. They have to point out that he's lied. Their whole case is about the fact that the domestic violence accusations from Amber Heard are lies, therefore not defamation of character. That's the whole core of defamation, is that it's a lie. She has to prove that it's the truth. So I understand exactly why, but I'm telling you what the attorneys are likely to do. I don't think it's going to play well with the jury. I don't. I think they're going to get it. And I think that they're going to get it even more because the fact is they were not in the United States. And you would be, people, generally speaking, would be more inclined to protect their spouse when they're out of the country. Because I don't know what Australian laws are. I'm not from Australia. And as an American citizen, I extra would be careful about breaking laws on in another country, period. Because I don't know what the penalty for breaking laws is over in other countries. So I can understand 100% why he would be also want to be protective of her. And I will say this. I think the other thing that they're going to argue, her team is going to attempt to argue, is that his memory and is also clouded because of his own admitting that he took several shots of vodka after the fight, right? And they're probably going to throw something in there about, his substance abuse, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Well, I'll say this. The fact is, I don't know very many people who, when they are inebriated on any type of substance, be it alcohol, illegal drugs, or prescription medication, who burn themselves in the face with their cigarette. People who are messed up, inebriated, typically burn clothing, and it's the lower, below their face. Usually, their shirt, their shorts or pants, their leg. You know what I'm saying? They typically don't burn their face, especially in the spot where that was burned, with their own cigarette when they're inebriated. I mean, I don't believe it. The night that I met my husband, we were at a club. And I was with a group of girls, and they had been drinking. And right before I actually met him, she went to give me a hug, and she was holding a cigarette, and she burnt me in the side of the face with her cigarette. So, yeah, I've never in all my life, and I've seen some things. I've never seen a person who's inebriated and burning themselves with a cigarette ever burn themselves in the face. Just never seen it. Because I mean, it doesn't happen, but I feel like it's not as logical as, say, she did it. And I think he protected her. I think he would have continued to protect her if she didn't do what she did with the op-ed. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think he was like, that's it. That's enough. It's too much. And there is no more. I can't do it anymore. She's, I 100% believe that he would have continued to protect her. And I think that there were moments in the testimony today and yesterday when he speaks of his relationship with Vanessa Paradis, and even Winona, that testimony stung, that it rocked her to the core. And you could see when the camera did pan over to her that she did have, as much as she tried to control it, she was unable to, and you could see that she did not appreciate that testimony. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We are got an hour for lunch. Let's all take an hour and we group back here at 2 p.m. I'll do it a little before 2 p.m., 1:55. I can't promise how great the YouTube notifications will be for that because it's YouTube. So just keep a, just, if you remember, I guess, set an alarm. I don't know. But anyway, that's what we'll do. I'll see you guys back here in like 50 minutes. All right. I'll talk to y'all then. Okay, bye.